let's uh let's do three things that you want to see, or three things, or three keys to the game, and it could be either side, Mexico side or Ecuador side. We'll go one by one, and then we'll kind of just pick each other's brains on what we think on how this game's gonna go. So I'll start with you. What do you think is your first like key to the match, or things that you want to see?
Well, the first key I would say is getting Santi Jimenez firing. I think Santi Jimenez has been giving opportunity after opportunity. Unfortunately for him, is just obviously he scored a goal, I think, against South Korea, an equalizer. But then in this recent match against Colombia, he had like one or two opportunities, but it's all he has to create it for himself.
Yeah.
I think more like players have to get involved in the buildup. There was moments where they were able to build, just it was literally like two times they were able to build something with Santi, but that's pretty much it. Like it's very null, like Mexico's attack. So I think against Ecuador, where again I think Mexico will have most of the ball, most of the possession. It's what
Yep.
you do with that possession, and if you can get a cross into Santi, a good through ball into Santi. So I think Santi will be key, at least looking to try to get goals, because that's what we need right now. If we're gonna beat this Ecuador team, we need to get at least one, because like you were saying, going forward, Ecuador, it's going to take them a little bit more effort. And I'm happy with our defense. Obviously, the 4-0, I don't think really reflects how good this defense has been. I think it was
Yeah.
just individual mistakes. But I think against Ecuador, I think we can maybe hold them to 0 goals, maybe a 1-1. I don't know. We'll see. But Santi definitely would be my first key. What about you for Ecuador?
Santi. Yeah, I mean, same thing. I think Ecuador needs goals, and they need to create chances. If you watch Ecuador play, we conceded 5 goals in 18 games in qualifiers. But there was so many like 0-0, 1-0 games, right? It was tough for Ecuador to score, and it was tough for Ecuador to create any sort of chance or rhythm in the attack. I'm used to seeing an Ecuador side growing up, just like you. When you like watching Mexico, I'm used to seeing an Ecuador side that's fast in the wings, that gets crosses in, and that finishes. We used to have Agustin Delgado, who played in Mexico as well. El Tintin Delgado, right? Always there for the header. We had Chucho Benitez, who also played in Mexico, always there for the headers, for finishes in the box. We don't have right now any sort of good style or concept to attack, and I need to see Ecuador do or try to find ways to create chances to cross. Right now, one of the things that Ecuador is doing is we're using our Preciado, who's an outside back who plays in Belgium. We're using him as a right wing because he's fast, right? So our idea is, okay, we're gonna find some moments where we're just gonna chip it over. He's gonna find space in behind, and he's gonna cross it, right? But more likely than not, he doesn't really find space. He doesn't know how to attack people 1v1. So in my eyes, he's not a winger at all. And so we just don't have any way to make overlapping runs and get crosses in or create any sort of attacking momentum. So I would just love to see Ecuador try to find ways to get chances. Let's get some crosses. Let's get some better set pieces, right? Ecuador in the last couple of games that's trying to do they're trying to hit the ball first post, right? And they can't even beat the first guy on set pieces. Mexico has been weak on set pieces. Let's try to exploit that. So I think Ecuador just really needs to find ways to create. Valencia played, I think, like three-fourths of the game against USA. I'm not sure if he's going to start this game, but I would love to see Campana play, right? So I could talk about that as one of my points, but would love to see how Ecuador can rotate some players and give other people minutes that haven't had some minutes. And let's try to see if we can create some attacking chances.
Yeah, I think for you, I agree. Like the whole set piece thing is going to be very important. I mean, I know we have Mexico specifically. They have a very tall defender, Cesar Montes. At the first post, he wins almost everything. If you can get that ball over Cesar Montes, if your guys can get that ball over Cesar Montes, it's almost always a goal, bro. It's
Trouble,
unfortunate to see.
trouble.
It's almost always a goal. It's unfortunate to say, but like Malagon isn't the most secure goalkeeper. We haven't found that goalkeeper. Kind of going to my second key, I would say would be
Yep.
the goalkeeper. I think in this match, I would love to see Tala Rangel, the Chivas goalkeeper. I know a lot of people shit on him because he does make mistakes. He's prone to mistakes. He's done that throughout the league, and he's done that with the Mexican national team. But I feel like if you give him a competent enough defense in front of him, like Cesar Montes, Johan Vasquez, Gallardo, and I don't know, maybe somebody else at the right back, Jorge Sanchez, I guess for now. I think he's probably going to go with the same thing.
Mhm.
Uh, if you give him that same starting defense that has been keeping clean sheets, I think Talarangel can put up a good performance because on the ball, he's one of the better, I think one of the best goalkeepers in Liga MX. Now his shot stopping ability is iffy, but on the
Yeah.
ball, trying to play out the back, I think he's very good. He's a lot better than Malagon on the ball. So I think this is a match for Talarangel. Especially he's playing in Guadalajara. He's playing in his stadium where with his people where
Yeah.
he's completely used to it. So maybe I think this is going to be a good opportunity. I think he's going to be key also in keeping goals out. In the few I feel like maybe Ecuador won't create too many opportunities for goal, which is what I'm hoping for. I feel like he'll be key in getting a few good saves and hopefully stepping up on Malagon's poor performance from against Colombia.
Yeah, Malagon is getting ripped right now, right? In the media. Yeah, I mean, if this guy is really good with his feet, Ecuador does a really good job pressing. And if you saw the first maybe, I don't know, 20, 25 minutes of that Ecuador USA game, USA was trying to play out of the back and Ecuador really pressed them and they created, some bad passes or USA would just play it up and Ecuador would recover. So Ecuador really did a good job of high pressing. And we're going to have probably some younger wingers that who probably didn't start in that first game. So if this goalie is good playing out of the back, you guys might need that, especially if Ecuador is going to be high pressing. But my second point, I think I would love to see our midfield without Caicedo, right? So for the listeners who don't know, Caicedo will miss the first game of the World Cup because of the double yellow against Argentina. We tried with what was the midfield? It was Vite, it was Alcivar, and it was Paez who was playing on the left, but then was tucking in. So I would love to see a more cohesive midfield who's maintaining possession. I think you're right. I think Mexico will have a lot of the possession. I think Ecuador is gonna just be compact, be solid because that's what we're good at. We know how to be solid defensively, but I would love to see the midfield kind of play with each other a bit more. Let's get some knocks in the middle. In the game against Argentina, there was a lot of moments where it was Paez, it was Franco who was playing on the right side, it was Alcivar, it was Vite who were just knocking it around Argentina. And the whole stadium was losing it, right? Because we're the amount of oles against Argentina, the world champions in Guayaquil that day, were insane. So I would love to see that. I would love to see them not be scared to have the ball on their feet. Yes, we're going to be away. We're going to have people yelling. We're going to have people putting pressure when we have the ball, but let's not be scared of those moments. Let's see how we can be more cohesive in the midfield. Let's try to find our moments when we do have the ball. And I don't know, Ecuador when they're confident and they want to knock, man, they're good and they're tough to get the ball from. So I would love to see a bit more confidence in the midfield from Ecuador, and let's see how we can use that obviously going forward as well.
Yeah, if there's a team they can do it against, it's definitely Mexico right now. But after seeing that 4-0, I'm sure like a lot of the guys in the midfield they're licking their lips. They're like saying like, "Oh yeah, this is maybe not in the bag, but definitely like it's gonna be good preparation for the Ecuadorian national team. But like this is their moment to really stamp themselves like against one of the hosts in their like in
Yeah.
Mexico as well. Playing against the US is one thing, but playing against Mexico is a different thing in Mexico as well. So this is a good moment for them to really show to the world, show to their people like, hey, we're ready. And I know they already did that in CONMEBOL, but the World Cup is getting closer. It's getting a lot closer. So, yeah, this is gonna be exciting. So I think for my third key, I'm gonna have to go for Mexico's formation. We've been seeing the same 4-2-3-1 for the past few months. I think in the Nations League, we were playing a 4-4-2, which I did enjoy that. Obviously, we didn't have too much of the ball during those games. We had to be a little bit more defensively solid. But I think given the roster that we have, a 4-4-2 wouldn't be too bad. Or even a 3-5-2, something like that, where we have our two strikers. I think
Yeah.
given that Santi cannot create for himself, I think he needs a partner up there, whether it's Berterame or Julian Quinones, because there's no Raul Jimenez. I think he needs a partner up there to help him create. Then, given our wingback situation as well, Jorge Sanchez didn't have the best game. The first half he had a fairly decent match against Luis Diaz, but then the whole second half he looked atrocious. And then Gallardo, I don't think he'll probably start this match. I think Mateo Chavez, the youngster for AZ Alkmaar, I think he might be starting this match. I want to see them like go forward. If our wingers aren't the threatening ones, at least hopefully our wingbacks can be the threatening ones. I think Chavez is technically brilliant and technically good enough to get forward and get a good cross in. And then on the right wing position, maybe like a Kevin Alvarez, who going forward is a very good player defensively. That's where he lacks. That's why Jorge Sanchez gets to start.
Yeah.
I would love to see a 3-5-2 or a 4-4-2, something like that. Because I think Vasco has gotten too used to this 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1 formation. And some teams are starting to either figure it out or it's just not completely meshing with the type of players that we currently have within this roster.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, formation's always key. I always say that, like, in a World Cup, you need to be adaptive to the players they have available or to the team that you play against, right? If you watch Argentina in the 22 World Cup, they changed their lineup a few times, right? If you see the lineup that started in that first game, it's very different from the lineup that kind of took them to the final, and how they played. Like, they would put Di Maria on the left sometimes, or then they had to switch out. They had to put Enzo in, and then Enzo, continued to be that guy. Then they switched out Lautaro for Julian.
Yeah,
So there was so many changes. You have to be adaptive. You can't just be this like one trick pony. USA, they figured that out quickly, right? They didn't change their lineup against the Netherlands, and the Netherlands punished them, right? I don't know why Berhalter never saw the game that Ecuador played against Holland when we played five in the back and we were so solid. Capped the Netherlands, only to one goal. We should have beat them honestly in that second game of the World Cup, but Berhalter doesn't go with five in the back. The wings get exposed, and I think most of those goals that the Netherlands scored on the USA came from crosses or from wing play or players getting in behind. So, like you said, you have to be adaptive. You have to try to find new formations. I like the Julian Quinones addition to up top. Ecuador is very physical in the back, and I don't think having Santi as the one guy up top is going to be, with Ordonez and Pacho back there. They'll eat him up. They'll eat him up if it's just him. So I think you have a Quinones who is going to battle against Pacho, who's going to be more physical, make them uncomfortable. I think that'd be a good suggestion for the lineup for Mexico. And then, like you said, on the wings, Ecuador has really good wing play or outside back wing play. There is room to get in behind Ecuador because we'll push up. You'll have a Estupiñán, you have Yaimer Medina, get into the attack, and then there's space, right, to expose, and then you get Bacho, you get Ordonez to cover, and then there's space in behind them on the other side. So yeah, definitely agree. Definitely think you guys need to change something up, right? Why not, right? It's a friendly. Let's see how you guys can, put your foot on the gas. You're at home. You need the fans to be in the game. And if you guys don't, first 15, 20 minutes, if you guys don't show that intensity, that enthusiasm going forward, you're going to lose the fans. And then
fans will
Ecuador's
pick
just
up
going to
right
dominate.
away. That's why what also worries me about playing in Guadalajara is that if you're not performing, they will let you know. They're
Yeah.
not here to talk shit on their own national team. Because the Guadalajara fans, I mean, all Mexican fans, when they play in Mexico, they're very so exigentes. They are
Yeah.
how do you say exigente in English?
They demand.
Man, yes, they demand the best, and if they're not seeing that on the field, they will let the team know. Yeah, those guys are the first 20 minutes. The first half is going to be key. If Mexico are playing an atrocious match, and then the fans switch up on them. That's all Ecuador. Ecuador have the opportunity to take advantage in that situation.
Yeah. 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 And my third key is let's get Leandro Campana more minutes. Leandro Campana, he former Inter Miami guy. Now he's playing for New England Revolution. He looked pretty good early on. So for the Mexican fans listening, we obviously also have trouble finding Ener Valencia's replacement. Ener has been the GOAT. He's been the guy for us. He's still producing. He obviously scored against USA, but we need a replacement for whatever reason. He gets hurt. He gets a red card. Whatever. We need another 9. And Leandro Campana is big. He's tall. He can finish. He has a good left foot. So let's try to see if we can find more ways. He's been another kind of similar to Jimenez, where he's gotten opportunities with the national team and just hasn't really delivered. And it's because he has a hard time producing his goals, kind of like Jimenez. So the best way to use Campana is to play off of him and then have the ball get sent wide. He's a big frame. Get the ball in. Get the big man a header in, and that's really it. Ecuador, for the longest time, has such a simple concept of playing, and I feel like this coach has kind of eliminated like Ecuador's identity, right? If you remember, like Antonio Valencia, Manchester United legend, right?
Yeah.
The guy was an animal on the wing. Jefferson Montero, who also played in Liga MX, right? Guy was a winger that just chopped people up, and he chopped them up a million times until they got dizzy, and then he got past them, and then he crossed the ball, right? So Ecuador lacks that wing play, and but we also need somebody to finish those, right? And it's obviously Enter, but we need a replacement. So I would love to see Campana get more minutes. I hope he gets to start, honestly. He should be fresh. He should be a guy that helps press Mexico early on in that game. And don't be surprised, right, if Ecuador really does go after Mexico first 15, 20, like we did against USA, make Mexico uncomfortable a little bit. Let's see if you guys could break that pressure, right? Let's see if you guys are able to figure out the press. Because then if you are, we'll be exposed. We'll be exposed in the back. So curious to see how those first 15, 20 go. What are your score predictions?
I said in the preview for the October friendlies that it was going to be this one was specifically was going to be a low scoring game, either a 0-0 or a 1-1. Obviously, I would like to see some goals, but being realistic based on how well defensively both teams are and the lack of threat going forward, I think maybe a 0-0 is going to be very realistic, very similar to what we saw at the Copa America. Very scrappy
Yeah.
game, midfield, very hard fought, very minimal opportunities going both ways. I could see a 0-0. I think I'm going to stick with my 0-0.
Yeah, it's gonna be a 0-0, 1-1, 1-0. What I like about the Ecuador games, even in friendlies, is the intensity. You saw the intensity Colombia brought because anytime you play Mexico, especially when you play Mexico one in the US, right? It's mainly predominantly Mexican fans. Stadium is packed. So you you get hyped for the game, right? And you want to play. Now Ecuador's playing in Guadalajara. It's gonna be hopefully a good atmosphere. Like you said, the fans will demand it'll be an intense atmosphere. And I feel like Ecuador does a really good job of living up to that intensity. And they're, especially away, they're really tough to break down away. So it'll frustrate Mexico for sure to not be able to break down Ecuador early on. So I think from an intensity standpoint, it's going to be a really intense game. So I'm excited to see how the game goes. I'm excited to see how both teams go about. It's obviously the first out of the three windows before the World Cup next summer. There's obviously like a mini half window right before the World Cup starts. So it's like 3 or 4 windows left. But yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be hopefully a good game, hopefully an intense game. Hopefully both teams can go at each other. It's a good test. I think the last time Ecuador played Mexico at this stadium, I think Ecuador won that game
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
2010 international friendly at the Akron. Ecuador won that match 2-1 with goals by Chucho Benitez 30 seconds into the game and Jaime Ayovi.
Jaime Ayobi. Wow, that's a throwback. I think that was like one of the first games Mexico played in that stadium too, if I'm not mistaken. Because when was that stadium open?
Around 2009, 2010.
It was around that time, right? Yeah. I think it was turf too, if I'm not mistaken. They don't have turf there anymore, right?
More now.
Yeah. They used to have turf, I remember. I think that was, which is crazy, right? Like, what was that, 15 years ago, right? And it's still like in my head, right? Because I feel like it's always a fun test when Ecuador plays Mexico. I grew up watching Mexico play, literally my whole life. My dad is a big America fan. He watches Liga MX. So, obviously in the US, Tu DN is always covering Mexico. So it's always fun to see the highs and the lows, right? And the reactions from the periodistas. Gee, concluding on this pod, man, where can people find you for the pub footy fans that listen in every week?
Well, just go to Charla Football, CHARLA FTBL. But we're on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube as well. Help us keep growing. Help the Pub Footy fam as well. Also keep growing. We're just here. We're just here. We're just trying to grow together. Help grow football and the love for the Ecuadorian national team and the Mexican national team as well.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Gee, always good catching up, man. And we'll do the post game right on the Charla Football channel.
Definitely, let's do it.
So look out for that. Look out for that episode. We'll post this tomorrow. So it'll be game day for Ecuador, Mexico in Guadalajara in the Estadio Akron. And then we'll do the post game probably Wednesday.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, right. Because what is it? It's a 7:30 game for you. It's 10:30 for me.
Is it actually?
Eastern. Yeah, I think I just saw the time yesterday.
It is 7:30. Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be a late one for the East Coasters. So, gee, always good catching up, and we'll talk in the post game, man. Good luck
Yeah,
to
so
Mexico.
thanks for the invite. Let's see how it goes for both teams.
Yeah, man. All right, take it easy.